Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Specialist charge times because I am going to move into Specialist in Depth eventually, pretty soon hopefully. I'm working on it. It's just taken longer than I originally had in mind. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about their charge timers so that you get a good baseline reference for how the mechanic works and how they compare to each other and things like that. The gameplay you're seeing right now is me using Reaper Psychosis on Fringe. I'm running around with the Vesper trying to get some headshots, and I end up stomping pretty hard this game, especially in the second round. Things go pretty bananas, and I try to make good use of the Psychosis, which, as you'll see, is one of the faster charging specialist abilities. First, I wanted to give a big shout out to BLAMETRUTH and Exclusive Ace. These guys did the legwork for me. The information you're seeing here today is not my original research. These guys did it first. If I'm not mistaken, BLAMETRUTH did the first kind of research into this, and then Exclusive Ace came along and did a bit more. If you click those links on the screen, either of their text, it'll go straight to their channel. They are linked in the description, and I have linked in the description a Reddit thread which presents all of this information in an easier to read, more tabular form, because the post had like, I don't know, 100, 120 different unique pieces of information, which is not very conducive for video format. So the first thing we want to talk about is how fast they charge in different game modes, because we do know that your specialist abilities charge at different rates in different game modes, and this is for balance purposes, so you can't like score, capture some flags or something like that and get your abilities all maxed out. So using Team Deathmatch as the base mode, or 1x since that's the fastest, that's going to be our point of reference. Domination takes 1.65 times as long as TDM. Kill Confirmed is about the same, 1.57. Hardpoint a little bit slower at 1.83, and you'll notice that these also kind of scale based on game length, like how long you would expect the game to last and how many points you can get from the objectives. So Uplink is a little bit slower at 1.49. Safeguard is surprisingly fast at 1.3, only slightly faster than TDM. However, you get a lot less points per kills in Safeguard, so it doesn't charge as fast. A lot more kills to get though. And surprisingly, Search and Destroy is extremely slow at 3.3x, so I guess it's Treyarch designed it to where you don't get a whole lot of special weapons or abilities in Search and Destroy. Otherwise, I guess it would be like who's saving their ace in the hole for last, or it's kind of like move and counter move, ability, counter ability. But I'm going to leave that up there for just a second so you can kind of take it in. But basically, TDM is fast, Search and Destroy is slow, and like Dom and Hardpoint are also pretty slow. The next thing we should talk about is how much kills or objective scores or whatever count toward your charge time. And as far as I can tell, this is constant for every mode. 100 points is equal to 24 seconds of charge time. So just depending on what ability you have, that's going to be more or less, but it's constant for every specialist. And as far as I can tell, for every mode, 100 points is 24 seconds off of your specialist ability charge time. I wanted to present the format for times moving forward in this episode so that I don't confuse anyone. When I talk about a specialist time, I'm going to have the actual time first, just free floating, and then the overclock time is going to be in parentheses. So anything that you see in parentheses is overclock time. Just keep that in mind. Obviously, they're all going to be lower than the base times. I just didn't want to confuse anybody. The fastest charging ability times in Team Deathmatch, they're a three-way tie. That's Overdrive, Psychosis, and Glitch. They take 2 minutes, 18 seconds to charge normally, or about a minute 44 with overclock. So I guess overclock isn't super useful in this case, but these are the three that come up by far the fastest. I use Glitch a lot. I'm just kind of experimenting with Psychosis, and honestly, Overdrive collects dust for me. Rejack and Heatwave also charge up pretty fast. Again, I would refer you to the table so I don't have to call out numbers all episode long, but they're only slightly slower than the ones we just looked at, so again, quite fast on those. And surprisingly, Combat Focus is the slowest charging ability of all. I don't know why. It's about twice as long as the fast ones, and I don't really think this is a good ability, and it kind of confuses me as to why it is the slowest charging one. I guess it's so that people can't abuse score streaks or something like that, but it is somewhat annoying. Moving into weapons, the fastest charging weapon by far, and this one blows everything else out of the water, is the Ripper. It takes a minute and 42 seconds to charge the Ripper, or if you're running overclock, a minute and 17 seconds. In this instance, I'm going to say 30 seconds isn't that big of a difference, especially considering the fact that you're going to be killing people and getting points and stuff. Overclock, not really useful on the Ripper unless you just plan on doing like a Ripper montage, or you just always have to have it up. But this one is extraordinarily fast, much more so than the others, and you'll especially see that as we move into the other abilities. All other weapons, with the exception of one, which we'll talk about later, are 4 minutes, 30 seconds, or 5 minutes. Not a lot of variation here. I decided to put it all into one little text slide because no matter what weapon, it's either 4.5 minutes or 5 minutes, only 30 seconds different, or you can see the overclock times there as well. Not like, shoot, 22 seconds difference in the overclock times. So pretty much every single weapon in the game, that's going to be Hives, Annihilator, whatever, Tempest, whatever, all pretty much have the same charge time, which is a little bit disappointing for me. You'd think that there would be a more nuance to the balance because some of them, like say the Annihilator, are inherently way better than the other ones, like say Hives. However, there is one specialist ability that charges slower than all the rest, and rightfully so, that is the Scythe. The Scythe takes 6 minutes to charge, or 4 minutes and 30 seconds with overclock, making it the slowest charging of anything in the entire game. So do keep that in mind, and that's rightfully so too, because the Scythe is by far the easiest to use. It's really good anti-kill streak, it's really good anti-human. You can really go on a big tear with that and kill a whole bunch of people before it runs out, so it would make sense that that charges slower. So overclock is going to be useful on pretty much all of the weapons except for the Ripper, and overclock is going to be useful on most of the special abilities except for those three that which we discussed charge very, very fast anyway. And again, there's a lot more information in the Reddit link that I put down there in the description and on these other people's channels. I just didn't want to read out like 200 pieces of tabular information. I wanted to hit the important stuff in this episode to give you kind of an idea of how it works and really hammer home the fastest, slowest, and that kind of thing. Guys, that is all for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode is on FMJ, and the next episode is Top Secret, which some of you have pointed out sometimes means I don't have my situation together. Hopefully it's going to be Specialist. I just have to get so much gameplay for those guys. Anyway, if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.